I'm doing good, Jeff. Thanks. Thanks, guys, for coming and welcome, everybody. Today, we're going to do a special edition of Crypto 101. So today, I want to be covering Iota and the DAG. For those of you who don't know anything about DAG, that stands for Direct Acyclic Graph. And so DAG technology is a special application of DLT, DAG, DLT. DLT stands for Distributed Ledger Technology. So blockchain is in itself a form of DLT, Distributed Ledger Technology. And DAG is the same idea, distributed ledger, but as you see when I get into this video, much more scalable and seeks to alleviate basically all the problems that blockchain has today. So think of blockchain, but the next version of blockchain. So first things first with Iota. I'm going to start on ground zero for those of you who don't know anything about this project. Give my personal opinion, I love this project. What Iota is trying to do is pretty insane. Their vision is humongous. Their goals are to basically be the backbone of the machine-to-machine economy. In the future, you might have heard of this term. It's called the Internet of Things. So in the future, the world is going to have 50 billion smart devices by 2020. So in this world with all these smart devices, we need to have a sort of economic structure for all these smart devices, because all these smart devices are collecting data. They're collecting data basically at all times. This ties into big data and Facebook, Google, all these companies that use this data to make business solutions, to make applications, to make the world faster. Well, right now, there does not really exist a structure for this data to be, so to say, exchanged and to be used in the most efficient manner. So a company like Google or Facebook is going to collect their data on their users, and there's no way for them to sell that data to exchange it. Right now, they're holding on to that data. It's profitable for them. Because of this data, because of big data and the analytics we have behind that, you can analyze this data and create business solutions for this. So one of Iota's first applications is to be a place where you can exchange this data, creating a data marketplace. That's a pretty big thing to wrap your head around. It's kind of hard to understand. But basically, in the future, we're going to have smart cities. We're going to have smart cars. We're going to have smart fridges. Some of these things we've already seen already. So Iota wants to be the currency behind all of these things. It wants to be the way in which data can be transferred from your car to the power grid, from smart, for example, a smart intersection, how it can take the data of pedestrian traffic and it will sell this to the city of Chicago, and the city of Chicago can use that data. So if you know anything about big data and the Internet of Things and where the world is heading in terms of those ideas and subjects, that's what Iota is all about. I could go on and on about the Internet of Things, the machine-to-machine economy. That's essentially the industry in which Iota seeks to penetrate and seeks to be the backbone of this economy. So in terms of exchanging this data between smart devices, that is what they call the machine-to-machine economy. And that is exactly what Iota is seeking to be the backbone of, and what they want to have their currency be the native asset of those kind of networks. So let's see if I have any more notes. Data marketplaces, like we said, this Internet of Things applies to many industries: healthcare, automotive, smart devices. Anything you can think of will be one day connected to the internet, transferring data onto this ledger, onto this network. For example, Uber is worth $68 billion right now. Uber does not own any sort of infrastructure. They don't own any cars. But what Uber owns is the data of who takes rides, when, where, drivers, they pretty much have a monopoly, not monopoly, there's Lyft, there's other ones, but what Uber owns is the data behind personal transportation. And that data is very valuable. Yeah, so much data today is gathered by companies and is completely siloed. So all the information that Uber holds, they are only the ones that hold it. There's no way for them to sell this data as the world exists today. It's estimated that up to 99% of data in the world today is siloed. So when data is siloed, that means it is stuck within a network and cannot be transmitted or shared with other devices and not be used. It can't be profited, it can't be accessed. Applications can't be created to help solve problems. So all this data is information on how to make things better. That's why we want so much data. That's why data is so valuable. There are theories that data is going to be the new fuel for the world. Like we were saying, these cases with Facebook and Google lately, how much data they're collecting on us. There's a reason why they're collecting all this data. Data is extremely, extremely vital in our world and our economy going forward, especially with the implementation of smart devices and the Internet of Things. So that essentially is the vision of Iota. It wants to be that protocol for exchanging data on the Internet of Things. So now let's getting into more of the specifics of Iota and how it works. So Iota, as I said before, runs on DAG, which isn't a blockchain. DLT, I have started this section right here explaining these kind of things. So consensus protocols are how we establish consensus of what to post to these distributed ledgers. Distributed ledgers are essentially just a source of truth. So what the DAG is, what it's not is a blockchain. What it is the same idea as a blockchain of having a distributed ledger of consensus of truth being recorded, except DAG is done in a completely different way. It's more easy for me to explain DAG in terms of what it's not than probably what it is. So in blockchains right now, what exists is the structure of blocks, the information we want to verify and post to the blockchain is all sitting here waiting. And each block is then mined. And blocks are mined sequentially, block after block after block. That's why it's called the blockchain. So the limits to this technology is we have a bunch of data up here trying to get verified in this next block. And we have to wait for this block to be mined before we can mine the next block. So there's pools of data that is sitting there waiting to be verified. And we've seen back in 2017, when we had the crazy bull run in December, we saw data transactions take up to weeks. We saw fees go up to high as $50. And this exists because these miners, the people that are mining all this pool of information out of this next block, they're racing, they're competing. They're going to charge a premium for the computing part they're putting in to mine this network. So we create a bottleneck of all this data up here trying to be mined on this next block. And once it is, a small amount of this data goes on this block, move forward. Now we mine the next one. That problem is backed up. And essentially, this is the biggest issue facing the blockchain technology today is the scalability of it. There exists other solutions for the scaling, such as increasing the block size, allowing more data to be put in them, or increasing the time between the block minting. How you have created forks such as Bitcoin Cash, such as Litecoin. These are other versions of that scaling solution implemented into a new coin. They took that idea and they said, Litecoin, for example, cut the blocks in half and create an entire new network on it. So what DAG is, they're turning this problem on its head. Instead of having a sequentially verified block chain of blocks, this network is essentially a graph of transactions and nodes and blocks. So instead of one sequential chain of transaction blocks, this is a graph. And how this graph works is everyone on this graph is a miner. Everyone in this graph, every participant in this network is essentially a miner. They don't mine anything. All you have to do as a participant of this network, so if I'm going to post a transaction as my block here, and in order for me to post this transaction and verify it, I need to verify 2 previous transactions before me. So if you can envision this process duplicating itself and repeating after another, one after another, you have another block, and that block has to verify my block, and another block, and another block, and so forth and so forth. So what this does is creates a web of blocks that are posted and verified by each other. So this inherently removes the bottleneck issue of the blockchain, because all these transactions can be verifying each other at the same time simultaneously. So you have a web of transactions being verified by each other instead of just one singular line of a chain of a blockchain. So the implications of DAG are insane. This basically is the solution to all the blockchain's problems. And this is the technology in which Iota's cryptocurrency is based off of, their network, how it runs. So like I said before, in order to post a net, you have to verify 2 transactions before yours is verified. And I personally like the idea of how this works. Instead of us having a race to compete to establish this consensus, this network works in a way that as I want to use this network, I have to help 2 other people before I can, in order to help myself. I just think that's intrinsically a great premise to make protocol established on a network. So yeah, we talked about how this will alleviate the issues of a bottleneck. And so how like this works in comparison to blockchain with DLT, with DAG, I'm sorry, the Direct Acyclic Graph Technology, which Iota has, the more users on a network, the better. And Bitcoin is the exact opposite. The more users we have on the network, the slower and more congested it becomes. Where in DAG, it's the exact opposite. The more people we have verifying transactions, the faster the network becomes. The stronger the graph becomes, the more dense it is, the more transactions have been verified by other previous transactions. So the network grows with the amount of people using it, and the network strength is enhanced by its users. Very opposite of Bitcoin, where the more people that are using it, the slower it becomes. Going on. So I think I pretty much covered DAG and blockchain. So yeah, that's the biggest difference between blockchain and DAG. And that's kind of like the crypto 101 lesson I wanted to implement in this video, the DAG. This is an insanely smart idea. It takes the same ideas of blockchain, establishing trust through record keeping and having this consensus be posted onto a network for all to see, except it completely removes the idea of having blocks chained to each other and instead creates a graph of transactions. Direct Acyclic graph in its specifics, direct just means simply that all the transactions of this network must flow in a certain way. So this is our first transaction. You have to have another transaction verify this transaction and another one. And all the transactions must flow in a similar direction. Acyclic means that a transaction cannot verify itself, cannot loop. So the principles of this graph is that it's a free-flowing graph, like a tree, that just grows outwards of transactions verifying other transactions. So the inherent structure of this is, in my opinion, genius. Pull this chat. Thanks, Sam. So yeah, that is the technology behind Iota. I would love to do another crypto 101 call going more into depth of DAG, because I see this as an amazing implementation of DLT, distributed ledger technology, one that has sort of upped the game for Bitcoin and blockchain-based solutions. It's sort of the next evolution of DLT. Blockchain was first and DAG may be second. Blockchain is not inherently new. It's been around for over 10 years now with Bitcoin. I've also just uncovered a possible scaling solution for Bitcoin based on this DAG. That would be another Crypto 101 episode. I think that's what I'm going to do next week, is these scaling solutions, talking about these and how we're going to fix these problems that blockchain has, or maybe even get rid of blockchain altogether and go like I was saying with this DAG. So back into Iota. What's going on with Iota? So now that we know the tech and how it works, with this tech of DAG, since everyone is not everyone's mining, there's no miners, everyone is essentially a miner, but since everyone on this network is participating by verifying other transactions, there are absolutely no fees. there are no fees in this network. So for it to actually exist an economy which we exchange cryptocurrency, and what they want to do with this machine-to-machine economy and the Internet of Things, the smart devices, you're going to be sending tiny tidbits of data. There's no reason to pay fees on this. So the actuality of being able to send transactions with zero fees is not been achieved in crypto community, other than the only other project I know that can boast this fact is Rayblox, which is also built on direct acyclic graph technology. Back to Iota. So no fees, as one I think one of the selling points of this technology. And yeah, feeless, enabling microtransactions, and quantum resistance to be tested. So yeah, understanding what Iota wants to do in terms of being on the Internet of Things, the machine-to-machine economy, is understanding that Iota wants to be this cryptocurrency that's transacted in this developing into be established marketplace is huge. Iota has its vision on the future. This, I want to stress this. This is an early project. This is beta software. This it has working currency. You can buy Iota right now. You can exchange it. They have, however, had issues with their wallet in previous iterations of it. There was a seed generating problem where Iota's, when you buy a wallet, deposit your coins in order to generate the seed to secure that wallet, they were that was susceptible to a third party generating random seeds for people that weren't entirely random. That's a whole other thing. So this technology is still very, very new. It's in its infant stages, and the scope of this project with the Internet of Things, with the smart economy, is insane. It's humongous. Like, I cannot stress that enough, how this tech is very new. It's in its infant stages. It's growing. It barely even functions right now. So then that gets me into the next part of this breakdown of Iota. So currently the network stands, it's centralized. There's a direct acyclic graph only works feasibly when you have a certain amount of network users on there. So right now it's a pretty small network, and that threshold has not been achieved yet, which is why they have something called the coordinator. So the coordinator is basically a computer AI that will verify these transactions instead of the users verifying it like it wants to work. This coordinator limits its centralization edge right now, because essentially the only thing verifying this network right now is a computer program controlled by Iota. But they call this the training wheels of this project, because if they were to not have this, their network would be very susceptible to the 33% attacks, which essentially means someone can control the network and post whatever they wanted. So this coordinator is only here for the short term. It's said to be removed in 2018, and this is when the network would begin to grow and have more users to verify itself. Like I said before, the security of this network fully depends on the amount of users on this network. Okay, that's one issue I had with Iota, is this coordinator, but it does look to be solved. It's very understandable why this exists right now. Just to understand, though, that this project is not decentralized until this coordinator is removed. The network is not truly decentralized in its governance until that, because this AI program essentially runs and governs the network as it stands. But the ideas behind the network they seek to create are outstanding. The next thing I wanted to touch base on, since we're talking about this tech, so what Iota did when they were creating this network, and they created this cryptographic hash function, that is essentially the function needed for, so when I'm verifying two other transactions, in order for me to do that, I have to do a small proof of work, like Bitcoin actually. And I'm going to use computing power to solve a cryptographic hash function in order to actually verify these other transactions. So I can't just go on there and say, yep, good. My computer actually has to put down computing resources. So there is actually proof of work within this technology. But this hash graph function of the proof of work that you're supposed to do to verify the other functions, to verify other transactions, this cryptographic hash function was created in-house by Iota. This is alarming because in the world of cryptography, creating your own cryptographic hash function is generally a no-no. So the common protocol is for these kind of things is you use something that's been developed, been tested. Bitcoin's run on SHA 256. That has been a proven and tested protocol. So what Iota did is they said basically, screw that. We're going to make our own hash graph function. And in doing so, they didn't allow for the cryptographer world to verify this, to make sure this actually works. And MIT actually did a review of their protocol back late in 2017 and found significant flaws in their cryptographic hash function. It has since been patched and is said to be resolved, but this is an issue for me just for the sense of why did they do this in the first place. I understand them wanting to try to create their own thing entirely from scratch, but it is definitely an alarming and head-scratching move just on what the developers have done with this project. That's not something traditionally done in the crypto world, and them doing so, like I said, is very out of the blue, not normal, not the protocol, so to say. So, and a lot of the things I've been reading from more techie-driven people are pretty upset about this, and we're very concerned about that. Like I said before, this is a new project, though. This is a project in its baby stages. So I do believe they have the capability and the wherewithal to solve such an issue, and I really hope they do so. But this is a notable red flag on this project's evaluation. Also, I mentioned here the original wallet didn't have a seed generator. That was also something. So this is the FUD that's been coming out, because with the project this grand and this big with its ideas, you're going to have haters. You're going to have people trying to knock it down. So it is good in the sense that there are issues to be solved, because we all know something's too good to be true. Usually it is. You know, this, except I'm out. With this, it's good to see, for me, in my eyes, I think it's good to see some issues come up already. That means people are really speculating on this. They're really digging deep. They're really trying to find what's wrong with this, because the claims and ideas behind this project are so grand and so will be so impactful and monumental in this crypto world and the world as we know it, that I'm glad it's being attacked. I'm glad these issues are being highlighted now. Like, we're still young and early, and these issues can be resolved before such a Internet of Things even comes into creation or even exists in this world. So now on to who are the people involved in this project. David Sanstabo is a founder. Sergi, a lot of hard names to say. Sergi Avancello, Dominic Schreiner, and Sergi Pavlet. So these are some really smart guys. David Sanstabo is the one I'm most familiar with. He has done a lot of research on just data. You're more interested in like Internet of Things, machine to machine economy, how big data is really going to change the world. He talks at great length about those kind of things. And I also want to mention the Iota Foundation. It's a completely separate thing from this currency. Iota Foundation is a non-profit organization. They're focusing on developing the next generation of protocols for the connected world. This ties into the machine-to-machine economy, the Internet of Things. Non-profit, created in 2017 by our founder. So basically, this is a foundation to basically continue this Internet of Things movement, continue the Iota project. It's funded by holdings of Iota tokens from the community, grants, donations. They are nonprofit, and this simply is a foundation that wants to further cryptos in general, distributed ledger technology, and to actually realize a smart economy, a smart world with a machine-to-machine economy. That's the Iota Foundation. What is Iota? We went through this. Tip selection, proof of work, consensus in the tangle. So here's a great, wish I would have did this before. This is a great physical representation of the tangle, how it actually works. When a block is created, verifies 2 previous transactions, and so on and so forth, instead of a linear blockchain setup. wish I had infographics for this before. So now we can get, oh, almost forgot. Probably one of the most exciting things, and what probably gives Iota the most news and the most things that people talk about outside of the tech, what people really like about Iota and what's really drove its price in the market. As we know, cryptos are very speculative in nature right now. There's no actual adoption of these cryptos on a massive worldwide scale. So the entire market is speculation of which one of these companies is actually going to succeed in the promises they made. So what grabs headlines a lot is these partnerships. And what Iota has been able to boast is they've had partnerships with Microsoft, Cisco, Volkswagen, Samsung. But I want to mention, so they had a trial marketplace basically showing how the software would work, and they invited companies to come in, show them what would happen if they shared their data, what are the implications of such kind of thing. And that is where Microsoft was partnered, Cisco and Samsung. Those are not official partners. There's been a lot of talk about that, but those companies were willing to come and work with Iota to test out the kind of ideas Iota is proposing, seeing if they would be interested in these kind of things. The fact that they're in collaboration with these kind of companies to me says that this company is legit. They're making strides, and what they're trying to do, they already have such a beginner's advantage. They're the first to market to do these kind of things. I think this could be a common idea in cryptos moving forward. More cryptos trying to tap into this Internet of Smart Things, the Internet of Things, the data marketplace. This is absolutely huge. This is a cryptocurrency for the future, a cryptocurrency for a future marketplace. It doesn't even exist yet, for future ideas that we know are coming. Like they are so far ahead of the curve is what I'm trying to say. So these partnerships are just basically these companies trying to take a look at this tech. They're actual legit real partnerships they have right now. They boast Bosch and Fujitsu. So these are two humongous companies that gather a lot of data and have already officially partnered with Iota. That says a lot about this coin and this cryptocurrency, that these big industry giants are already partnered with this project and will be using this sort of software for data transactions, for cryptocurrency transactions in the future. So yeah, that is my quick breakdown of Iota. We can get on a chart here and let's take a look at what we got with the Iota chart. So monthly, very similar with other cryptos. Big leg up, retracement down now. We're experiencing a pullback, haven't broke structure. Still bearish in my eyes. We're hovering right now right around $2. This is an interesting level right here. As you see, it's we had a lower low, a lower high, another lower low, and this lower high might possibly break this high right here. In order for that to do so on this weekly, be right about here. Getting on the daily, yeah, we're right at structure right now. So this is an interesting level. I think this is an interesting level across a lot of cryptos across the board. I know Bitcoin is not quite at that first lower high structure that it made, but Ethereum, Stellar, other coins like this are definitely coming up to this previous, what was resistance, seeing now if it was going to be support. This level right here is what I'm talking about. So here are the resources if you want to do some more digging into Iota for yourself. You can go on iota.org, Foundation, our vision. Their website is I want to say it's very professionally well done. I looked at it after looking at a lot of cryptos websites. This one definitely has some funding behind it, and the team behind this is legit. I can definitely tell you that. Some interesting articles. This one, how Iota makes a bright future for the Internet of Things. I'll post this on the blockchain, on my crypto catalog in the resources. So Internet of Things, what I was talking about before, it's humongous. Humongous. It might become right here. Internet of Things holds one of the biggest potential for human life change. It might become the fastest growing market in the next couple of years. But the more important thing is the development in related areas and connecting. Like I said before, Iota wants to be this ledger, this protocol for the Internet of Things. Insane. What is Iota? Here's their Twitter page if you're interested. Iota token at Iota token. Their Reddit page is also pretty good. So these are the resources I use just to like sort of keep up. Ooh, which I almost forgot. So what are things to look for in Iota for the future? How do we keep this project accountable? How do we make sure they're doing what they say they want to do? Well, what their network coordinator to be released, that is step number one for this network to actually become decentralized and starting to actually attempt to fix these solutions that it intends to. Actually removing the network coordinator, making it completely decentralized consensus. Next, they are looking to release a new wallet. This is being developed in-house by a student they hired. And like I said before, there's many problems with previous wallets. So actually creating a web wallet, desktop wallet that is more friendly for user interaction seems to be key. That's something to watch for Iota for the coming. And then this, Project Q. So in my research for this crypto call, I came across this project. It's very interesting to say the least, because this project, there are essentially no details on what this project actually is. All I know is it's called Project Q. Iota Foundation teams behind it. They're seeking to release it this year, 2018, and that's it. So I think it's a genius little marketing strategy they had here to keep people basically in tune with this network and its development, how it's coming along. Yeah, Project Q, nobody knows what it is. Supposed to be huge. It's supposed to basically launch this platform onto a national spotlight. It's got a lot of speculation, and just the general mystery behind it has a lot of people wondering and speculating on the price. With that being said, I think that's something they're doing just to keep interest in this project flowing steady, you know, because of what I was saying before. This is beta software. This is ideas for the future. I'm talking 5, 10, 15, 20 years from down the road right now that these guys want. That's the vision of this project. It's very long term. Investing in this project means that you're going to be holding this for a long term. Like, this project won't, the network and technology they want to implement is for the Internet of Things, the machine-to-machine economy. That does not quite exist yet. Yes, we have a lot of smart devices, and we have a lot of these technology, and we have all these ways of gathering data. But this project wants to be the way which we exchange this data. These ideas are humongous, and lots of things and lots of innovations need to come about before these kind of things can be done. All I'm saying here is that this project is extremely long-term in its scope. Even long-term, I'd say, in something like Cardano. So their ideas extend way into the future, and so should your expectations. You should not be expecting immediate pump of this coin. It's definitely a long-term play. And yeah, so I think that's all I have for you guys today. I want to give a chance if anyone has any questions. Now's your time. I want to thank everyone for coming. Hopefully you have a better understanding of Iota, the Internet of Things, the machine-to-machine economy, Direct Acyclic Graph Technology. I really love this idea. I'm going to be doing some more research. I think the next call we're going to do is about DAG, scalability solutions for Bitcoin. Once again, thanks everyone for coming. Hope you guys learned something today. Peace.